Thank you so much for everybody online to be part of this conversation. So I have the pleasure to present to you a very interesting case study of the application of the AIoT framework to something which doesn't appear to match very well to facade inspection. Facade inspection seems to be a very traditional use case. So how can we benefit from the AIoT framework for that use case? So my name is Martin Saerbeck. I'm the CTO and digital service for TÜV Süd. And by demonstrating to you how we apply the AIoT framework to the service development, I think I can also give you some very interesting learning points, how you can make this AIoT framework beneficial for you. All right. By going through the next couple of slides, I will draw an interesting comparison. If you're in the manufacturing sector, you're very familiar with asset monitoring and asset management. Now, if you compare this to the challenges of building or facade inspection, they look very similar, right? So you have subjects that you need to monitor, and that has various failure modes that you need to be able to detect. In case of a facade, well, you need to be able to detect cracks, spellings, corrosion, delamination, a variety of possible failure cases. Now, how do you detect such things? So in the manufacturing world, you would slap on a couple of sensors to your piece of equipment. Well, that might be a little bit more challenging in the building world, but this is exactly the place that the drone takes on. So basically, the drone becomes the input to this smartness for the inspection. So in the future for facade inspection, how do we envision that? Buildings are going to be inspected autonomously, hopefully, with drones to accurately see the outside with all the defects present. Once we have this data collected, we can bring this together for the monitoring use case. Where are the cracks, where are the defects, and what repair is necessary to keep the safety of the building. But once we have this monitoring case, well, we can also start to predict the future. We can enter in the predictive maintenance, and we can integrate the data in the digital world and enable various add-on services there as well. So what I have put at the bottom of the slide is actually taken from the AIoT templates, the typical life cycle on product development, how to make this a reality, from conceptualization or the product design, and then you look into how do you bring this AIoT thing to the market. That is exactly what we have done. And then we are looking into these operations of the AIoT service. The core, the sensor is our drone, and then we connect the smartness to the AI in the back end that tells us what is wrong with the building and where. So we can benefit from a very objective analytics for the building. A part of the data collection is where do we collect this data? When you're in the manufacturing domain, you know this problem. Where do I mount my sensors? In our case, the drone is not statically mounted. It has to scan the building. And this is a very important part of the quality of the data collection. Once collected, an AI will analyze it and will integrate this into a 3D model. So this is a part of the service that we already have developed. So, and here's a little bit of an overview of how we conceptualize it in the AI solution world. So at the field, we have the drone, right? So the drone has an actual positioning system, and I will go a little bit into detail later on what kind of data is collected there. Now, once the data is in the back end, then we need to analyze it. And there we have some interesting additions that you might not face in the normal manufacturing world. Privacy concerns, right? If you collect visual data or thermal data and you have occupants living at the buildings, so there you have privacy concerns which need to be taken care of. And there AI is a perfect match to do that. I mean, with all the facial recognition in the world, what we can do now is automatically mask such things so that all the privacy related information is not even considered or not even entered in the database. There's also various users to be considered in this framework. And at the edge, we have, of course, a drone pilot, we have safety officers, we have domain experts that need to know what data need to be collected. Once in the back end, there we have a couple of new users that need to be considered and what kind of use cases do they have. We have the professional engineers that are subject matter experts of buildings. We have the building owners. They are interested in maintaining the buildings. But also the regulators are very much a part of the story. Once you're in the digital world, you don't have to stay there. You can actually start dreaming, right? You can actually build big. So once you have a digital building, you can expand this concept. What is my neighborhood looking like? Sustainability effort, energy consumption, right? So all those then can be expanded upon building on this AIoT framework. So when we went through this framework, there's also an interesting duality coming out. Let me focus on maybe two use cases here. First, of course, the building. The building is the asset that we need to monitor here. And then I have highlighted in the second column a little bit the use cases that are most important for the building, which is the support, maintenance, and repair. Right? As a building operator, you're interested in what cracks do I need to fix, what color do I need to repaint, what maybe panels are loose that need repair. And of course, then the digital service that you built on top of it. So, of course, then we're using the drone and collecting various types of data. What kind of data goes into such system? Well, a lot of complexity starts here already. You need to have a defect database for training your AI algorithms. When you have access to subject matter experts, still it takes some time to build up that knowledge into the system. But with every building you're inspecting, your system becomes smarter thanks to the AI algorithms. And then you can also follow up with the repair data. So you can have the construction crew on site that takes care of defect and then take pictures again and feeds this back into the system. So suddenly you have always up-to-date live digital twin of the building that helps you in operating this building. But now if you're looking into this picture that we currently have on the screen here, well, you realize there's a duality. There's a second use case here, which is a drone. So once you are looking into the streaming data that comes from the drone, you can build up a second AIoT use case. You have status data from the drone. You have what is the temperature of the motor, what is the charging state of the batteries, what are the sensor data readings coming from the IMU from the drone. So the drone itself becomes an AIoT use case that can be handled by this framework as well. So continuing this, what Dirk also very nicely introduced in this framework, we have to look into the why, for whom is it, who is interested in that. And we have to make this as user-friendly as possible. And this came up a couple of times in the presentations before me, right? The smartness, the autonomousness of this entire system, the user-friendliness. This is exactly what we also then implemented in the drone facade inspection from the very ground up to make it very seamless for our customers. So you can sign up with the links that are shown here on the side. We will have a project manager can take care of you, the professional drone that will execute the inspection, and then you get 3D model up there. I mentioned the privacy and security as one of the use cases. Here's actually one of the raw image data that we collect with it. So AI is definitely a big help to do that. So when the data is being collected by the drone, it ends up encrypted on the drone itself already. So now, before the data is being uploaded into the analytics backend or even being looked at by the professional engineers and the subject matter experts, the AI has done its work already. So all those privacy relevant data has been masked already. So no human ever sees such privacy concerning data. And that is, I think, a perfect use case where you start also developing trust to the systems when you're developing such services. Of course, the portals are an important feature as well. And there are the different use cases coming in that I mentioned before. Various stakeholders have various needs for such platforms. So I started my introduction with the analogy to manufacturing. When you monitor a piece of equipment, similar story here as well. So you have various dashboards, use cases where you look into the lifetime of your equipment and you want to draw conclusions from there. So we integrate here the needs of the building operators, the needs of the subject matter experts, and of course, in conversation with the regulators as well. In terms of image processing technology, interesting part here as well. We are looking at multimodal data, not just RGB, but also thermal data and various kinds of other sensors like lidar and stereo camera resolutions. Making sure that such analytics is the one that matches your needs and what are you looking for in terms of services can be very much expanded. Those metadata, what are the facade elements you're looking at? Are you looking at the glass facade, a metal facade? What can possibly go wrong with this materials is part of what we have built in the platform already. Right. So now looking into the DevOps of AIoT, well, this is exactly what we have done, right? And that is what you can also benefit or take away from the AIoT framework, agile development, right? A very traditional company like TÜV Süd, now we are very much in the AI and AIoT world. So we have data scientists, we train our AI models, and then we have a continuous DevOps process in place to continuously deploy updated models with experts globally from the TÜV Süd world for the various types of building elements. The continuous delivery that closes the loop also to our customers is what we call the drone facade inspection platform with the various 3D model visualizations, the follow-up use cases that we can deliver digitally. Right. Before I close, that is my last slide for today, coming back again to the why. In the end, a business case stands and lives with the benefits that it generates for the users of it. Facade inspection now with the help of drones, in particular as an AIoT application, can be done in a fraction of the time compared to conventional. I mean, think about it. Previously, we had to use the Spider-Man method with gondolas and ropes to inspect the building. Now the visual inspection of drone is much faster and also much more safe for the inspectors. All the data is being collected is seamlessly integrated in the digital workflow, which of course helps the overall building operation. And one of the headaches of building operators also goes away. All the data and the follow-up actions recommended by the platform automatically qualify you for the certifications that you need to safely operate your building. So I hope these insights in how we applied the AIoT framework were useful to you. In the upcoming panel discussion, I hope I can get a couple of your questions, so maybe you can want to learn more about that. And with this, I would like to hand over back to Thomas so that we can go to the questions and answer section.